The first sighting happened at low tide. That detail would matter later, but in the moment it just seemed off. It was that strange, quiet hour just before the sun fully commits to the day. The world was holding its breath. A woman was walking her dog along the inland road, the gravel crunching under her boots. Suddenly, she stopped. Or rather, her dog did. He just froze, planted his paws, and refused to move another inch. He wasn't barking, he wasn't whining. He just stood there, completely rigid, staring toward the water with his tail tucked so tight it was trembling. A statue of pure, silent dread. The woman followed his gaze, squinting toward the shoreline. And that's when she saw him. A man standing offshore, not swimming, not floating on his back, standing. The water, even at low tide, should have been up to his waist, but it barely reached his ankles. It was perfectly still around his legs, like the sea didn't even recognize him as an object, as something to react to. It just flowed around him. She knew who it was instantly. Everyone in town would. It was Elias Rowe. He was wearing the same worn flannel shirt and faded jeans as the day he vanished. He had the same stooped posture from years of hauling nets, the same weathered face carved by salt and sun. Everything was the same, except for his eyes. They didn't blink. They didn't focus on any one thing, and they certainly didn't search the horizon like a lost man would. No, these eyes already knew where everything was. By the time the first few curious neighbors arrived, drawn by the woman's scream, Elias hadn't moved a muscle. He didn't acknowledge the small crowd gathering on the beach. He didn't turn his head. As far as anyone could tell, he didn't even breathe. He just remained. A fixed point in a world that was supposed to be in constant motion. Someone finally broke the spell and shouted his name. Elias! The sound was swallowed by the strange quiet. No response. Another man, bolder or perhaps just more desperate for a reaction, picked up a flat stone and skipped it across the water's surface. It skipped once, twice, and then just stopped, mid-air. It hovered for a heart-stopping second, defying gravity, before sinking straight down into the water like a lead weight. The surface never rippled. Not a single circle expanded from where it fell. One of the fishermen, a younger guy named Thomas, who'd looked up to Elias, couldn't take it anymore. He started wading into the water, screaming Elias's name over and over. Elias, it's us. We're here. He charged forward until the water reached his knees, and then he froze. His eyes went wide, his mouth hung open, and the breath locked solid in his chest. He stood there for a long moment, trembling, before whispering something so quiet only the person nearest the water heard him. He said, "It's louder down here." Then he began to step backward, slowly, carefully, like he was retreating from a sleeping predator he'd almost woken by mistake. And that's when Elias finally moved. He turned his head, not toward the terrified crowd on the shore, not toward the man retreating from the water. He turned toward the vast, empty horizon, and then he spoke. His voice carried across the unnatural stillness, without wind, without echo, without any visible effort at all. It was calm, flat, and impossibly clear. He said, "It remembers all of us." That was all. Then he stepped forward toward the shore, and the water parted for him. It didn't get pushed aside or displaced. It rearranged itself, creating a dry path right before his feet. Elias walked out of the sea and onto the land. His boots left no damp prints in the sand. His clothes were bone dry. When someone dared touch his arm, his skin was warm. Up close, the changes were even more disturbing. His eyes didn't reflect the morning light. They seemed to contain their own depth, like looking into a deep, dark well. And when he finally blinked, just for a fraction of a second, you could swear something ancient and vast moved behind them. He began looking at the people in the crowd, one by one, not with emotion, not with recognition. He looked at them categorically, as if sorting them. When his gaze landed on Caleb, he stopped. "You listen," Elias said. The tone wasn't accusing, and it wasn't kind. It was simply a statement of fact. Certain, Caleb opened his mouth to reply, to ask the 1,000 questions screaming in his head, but no sound came out. His throat was closed tight. Elias leaned closer, and a smell rolled off him, the smell of deep, cold water. Metallic, ancient, the smell of a place that has never seen the sun. "It will ask you to choose," Elias continued, his voice a low murmur only Caleb could hear. "Don't rush." Suddenly panic erupted. Someone screamed for him to be restrained, for the sheriff to be called. A few brave souls tried to grab him, but their hands passed right through his arms and his chest. It wasn't like grabbing mist. It was like pushing against a pocket of immense pressure that suddenly gave way. There was substance, but no solidity. Elias straightened up, unaffected, and looked back toward the sea one last time. "I was wrong," he said to the open air, and that's when the fragile courage of the crowd finally shattered. People screamed, they stumbled backward, they ran. By the time anyone dared to look back, he was gone. No splash, no figure walking back into the waves, just an absence where he had been standing. But Elias wasn't finished. That night, the true strangeness began. He was seen all over town, standing silently in doorways, at the foot of beds while people slept. His reflection would appear in dark windows, watching, not matching the movements of the person looking into the glass. He never touched anyone. He never spoke or threatened. He was just present, an observer. People woke up with the unshakable certainty that they had been watched for hours, weighed, measured. Some woke to find wet, salty trails on their wooden floors, leading from a window to their bedside and back again. Others found complex, impossible sailors' knots tied in ropes they didn't even own. Caleb couldn't sleep. He couldn't stay inside. He finally found the courage to return to the shore, alone in the dead of night. The oppressive calm was still there, a blanket over the world. As he approached the water's edge, he felt it welcome him, not physically, but in his mind, a strange sense of invitation. And there, standing at the edge of the surf, was Elias, closer this time. "You think it's hunting," Elias said, his voice the same flat tone as before. "It's not." "Then what is it?" Caleb managed to ask, his own voice shaking. Elias almost smiled. The wrong muscles in his face moved, creating a grotesque, unsettling expression. "It's correcting an imbalance." Caleb shook his head, desperate to cling to logic. "No, this is wrong. You're not real. You're dead." Elias seemed to consider that for a moment, tilting his head. "No," he replied simply. "I'm useful." He then took a step backward into the water. But he didn't sink, and he didn't float. He just dissolved downward, his form losing its edges and merging with the dark sea. Just before he vanished completely, his voice echoed in Caleb's mind one last time. "It prefers witnesses. The next morning, the unnatural calm had expanded again, but this time it wasn't just clinging to the coastline. It was following the roads inland. Storms announced change with thunder and fury, but a calm like this, it enforces it. And when the sea finally decides to send someone back, it's not to reassure you that everything is all right. It's to explain the new rules, and you have no choice but to listen. Thanks for watching. Be sure to follow for the next episode.